Betting Weekly Tennis Live, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Download the app, make bets, have fun, get in on the action. Follow us on socials at Because We Win. It's Mitch Michaels, your host, along with tennis betting analyst Tim Dennis. Tim, we're on the grass season. We don't even get, that's the best part about the sport, right? We get like 30 seconds to catch our breath, and it's time for a new surface change. But delighted to join you here on the show. And thanks for wearing green, too, to celebrate grass season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Good to see you. Yeah, we don't have the luxury some of these players have today. They have a bit of a holiday in between, get the clay and the grass. We're straight off the clay and straight into the grass. So we're pressing on with plenty of grass action. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the games have ended fairly quickly today. So we've just got a couple of ladies matches in play at the moment. I think Madison Keys is currently in play at Queen's Club, and Kudermetova is just playing here live as well.
Yeah, those are the two matches going on tour level. Keys and Zakharova. Keys is down a break, is still a huge favorite at minus 670. So if you think Anastasia Zakharova can pull it off up a break early, she's plus 410 on the money line. You could get in on the action there. In her Turgenbosch, which is a combined event, you have men's singles and women's singles, which is nice to see. Kudermetova, that's Veronika Kudermetova, the older sister, taking on Greet Minnen. They're on serve at 4-3. Kudermetova minus 195 with Greet Minnen at plus 145. So maybe there's a live angle to monitor there. The other matches were pretty quick, done and dusted. There were some long and exciting ones. We also want to talk about, the daily double and the success we've had on this week's show. But the match that stood out to me, Tim, and I know we've had action on it across the Bet Rivers Network, but Emma Navarro and Haddad Maia was quite a banger in that one. And if you think about it from the perspective of where both these players were kind of recently, how they were coming into really the back end of clay season, not playing well, Navarro wins a marathon against Haddad Maia. Both looked great. Navarro dropped that first set, but battled back and really found something in that match against a tall player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen play out quite a few times this week, especially on the women's side, is these girls that have already had a game on grass. It's really stood them in good stead. And you look at today, had Maia racing through that first set. It happened, I think the day before yesterday, Anisimova, Jodie Burrage took the first set against her. She just looked all at sea on the court. And until they build a little bit of confidence in their trust in the surface, they're just taking a bit of time to sort of, be comfortable and find their feet on it, so to speak. And that happens there with Navarro. But obviously, the longer the game went on, the more she got into it. Perhaps she had a little bit of help from Haddad Maia. A few awkward points here and there just cost her perhaps. But you always get these long matches with Haddad Maia, and unfortunately for Navarro, she was able to build her way into the game and get through. So I think she actually plays Anisimova in the next round, I think, in the quarters now. So that'll be a good game.
Yeah, that that will be very, very interesting to see. That match isn't going to be till Friday. We still have another day of it, of the round of 16 matchups. But yeah, we looked at the show, myself and Dustin Fox, on the Monday show, and the first thing that stood out to me was there were some lines, Tim, that were just kind of skewed like one way or the other, like big favorites. And I just thought, this is like the Intel week. It's the first tour week on grass. It's such a short season. I don't know that that's necessarily one way or the other. We should have some of these big favorites. Some players are proven on grass, but a lot of them haven't had the match records, the experience. And playing an extra match, maybe having to even go through qualifying, can give you a leg up.
Yeah, absolutely. It happened again in Hergenbosch today with Samsonova getting beat. I know she started a game last night when losing the first set, and she managed to battle back and win the second. But she got crushed by the world number 231 there in the final set there today. So a player who has a good record on grass, but she was up against someone who'd already played qualifiers, played a few games, had a few games under her belt, whereas Samsonova obviously comes straight from the French, and she's just been caught cold, and that's happened to many players already so far this week.
Yeah, that's the beauty of, if you're a top player and if you're a fan of tennis and some of these smaller tournaments, and the top player loses early, like in Roland Garros. You saw Taylor Fritz playing Stuttgart, beat Quentin Hollis today. He's not playing this event, right, if he's going deep into Roland Garros. So it gives him maybe a early prep for grass that he would not have otherwise had. You've seen that across the board. Also, I mentioned it, Tim, we dish out daily doubles on this program on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. And, Nigel hit his. It was Nigel Seeley's big daily double bet from yesterday. You got Lejal to beat Laszlo Jarry. He wins that matchup. And then Gabriel Diallo today the bet was. And in that one, it was Gabriel Diallo playing Jordan Thompson, who has a lot of experience on the grass. The bet was plus 2.5 games. Diallo wins the match 7-5 in the third. So Diallo and Lejal paying out a nice plus 192, a big hit for the daily double.
Yeah, no, good stuff there. And Diallo to win the game as well is impressive because Thompson's got a good record there. And I think the guys were quite clean on him on the game bet match show for the tournament. So I think Diallo and he now he might have to come across Kachanov now, who came through in 3 today against Mackenzie McDonald. So that should be an interesting game going forward.
We have a comment there. Good morning. I guess they're on West Coast time too, because they're saying good morning. It's not morning in many places of the world, but yeah, Ben Shelton, another one too, who is starting grass after a round of 16 run, and that bet right there, Ben Shelton minus 1.5 to I look. Ben Shelton's another one on grass that, right, like we can talk about the big picture contenders, and obviously it's Sinner, Alcaraz, and the rest of the field, but Shelton gives me optimism, Tim, because what he did on clay, in a weird way, he was able to kind of put the pieces together, have his first breakthrough on clay. Why can't he do the same? Not saying he's going to win it or even get to the semis, but why can't he have a big breakthrough on grass if he had the ingredients on clay this year?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the guy play and you just looked at his stats on a piece of paper, you would think grass was made for him, but he hasn't quite managed to make that transition yet. But you'd like to think it's only a matter of time with him once he's found his way. And obviously a good start today. And with that, we know that huge left-hand serve he's got should be causing so many problems for so many players. Yeah. So he should be fancying himself. And if the conditions stay quick and the weather stays warm, that'll be playing to his strengths for sure.
Yeah, he's one of those guys similar to like Isner and obviously the big servers, but put him on a smaller court and he's even more dangerous, where there's less room for these guys to back up and try to attack his serve. Yeah, I'm with you. That lefty serve is a lot, and he was competing admirably in that Alcaraz match. Well, looking at the live matches before we dip into some other matchups throughout the grass court season, Kudermetova up a break. She's serving for the first set 5-4 in her Tagenbosch over Greet Minen, and Keys is back on serve against Zakharova at Queen's Club. Good to see Queen's Club tennis for the women for the first time in quite some time at the newly christened Andy Murray Arena. Well, Tim, let's look at some of the bets that some of the matches we like and some maybe action we have. One of the ones you suggested you wanted to cover, and we're going to flash the graphic now. Go into her Tagenbosch. It's the men's action. Alexei Popyrin versus Zizou Bergs. Popyrin is minus 149, 159 on the money line. Bergs a plus 128 money line underdog. That game spread is razor thin at minus 1.5 for Popyrin. And there you see the over under and the set bread. So Tim, the floor is yours. How do you like to attack this match? What's your lean in this one, Popyrin and Bergs?
Yeah, I'm going to continue with what I've just spoke about with players coming in cold and people who've had a game under their belt here. So Popyrin's obviously coming straight from the French, whereas Bergs has played a match already here, coming through again 3 sets, beating Alexander Blocks. Looking reasonable, serving pretty well. They've got a head-to-head one-on-one record, but they've just met the once on grass at challenger level, and Bergs took that in straight sets 6-2, 7-5. So yeah, the lean I had, and I said it's a lean, but I'll put it in as part of the double, was the bet I did quite like was Bergs to win the opening set at plus money. I think it was plus 117 when I looked earlier. I just thought with Popyrin coming in, he does okay on grass. It's Popyrin, to be fair to him, but I was just looking with the guy with the experience already, having felt the court underneath him in match conditions. That's the way I wanted to go in this match. I liked him to win the first set at plus money.
Wow, so just the first set. It's an interesting call, and it's the way you find value in this one. Yeah, plus one. I'm seeing plus 115 right now on the app.
Just a shade shorter, but yeah, plus 115 is fine compared to 117. So
I think it's interesting, right? Like it's attacking first. Sometimes we think these win the first set bets, right? There's different school of thoughts, right? There's maybe the big underdog or the veteran that they're going to push forward in the first set. But yeah, this is a different angle, right? This is somebody with maybe more recent experience, comfortable on the surface. So I like that one. And I like the angle of maybe in the best of 3, even that it'll be figured out, he'll be defeated. But yeah, set 1 coming out big, it could, especially with how fast points play on grass, could be the opportunity to win money.
Yeah, I mean, generally in these games, that if Bergs does win and Popyrin wins, obviously wins the first set and Popyrin wins the match, we're still going to win.
Mhm.
And it tends to be these better players seem to figure it out the longer the game goes on, like we spoke about with Anisimova yesterday and Emma Navarro today, for example. So I'm just hoping that sort of trend continues in this match.
I got another matchup I wanted to get to, and that was an interesting women's match on the agenda, and that's Diana Shnaider taking on Katie Boulter in Queen's Club. These two, interesting line for sure. Shnaider is one that's into the top 10, I think, on grass. She definitely has a title on grass, and she's a solid favorite there. But I don't know, Tim. I was kind of leaning upset in this one. I think Katie Boulter in how she competes, playing obviously another player, from there on grass, I think has experience. But I'm going to lean on the expert here. How would you bet Boulter in this match? Because I feel like there's an angle to be had, and I would lean your way. Maybe you can tell me I'm completely wrong and you like Shnaider, but I feel like there's an angle out there to bet on Katie Boulter.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there is. I mean, the home crowd is certainly going to play to her strengths. But to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed with Boulter yesterday. I thought she was quite fortunate to win that match against Tomjanovic. They both had exactly the same service points, one on return points, one of 100 each. And I think there were 7 breaks of serve. And Katie Boulter was broken 7 times in the match, which I think Shnaider will be licking her lips at something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think she only won 52% of her first serve points yesterday. When you're thinking of first serve points on a reasonably slick grass court, that's I think again Shnaider will be fairly comfortable going into that. These girls have met once in the final in Hong Kong last year. Shnaider took that comfortably. I think it was 6-2, 6-1 even. I think she dominated the service points, one on return points, 130 to 70. Shnaider likes the grass. She likes these quick conditions. She won the title in Bad Homburg last year, beating Vekic in the final. She started off well yesterday, beating Magdalena Freck 6-4, 6-1. And the flip side of that is if you look at Boulter, she won 73% of her first serve points compared to, like I said, the 52% of Boulter. Obviously, different opponents, so not to put too much strength in that. But yeah, I mean, you were talking about getting with Boulter, and I was probably the bet that stood out to me was the Katie Boulter under total games was, I think 11.5 was the total, and that was plus money, which I thought was fair because there's a chance you could win a set and this bet might still cash. It's probably unlikely, but there's still a chance of that happening. So I think the Boulter under 11.5 total games, that was plus 114 earlier when I saw it.
Well, the last time, and I'll play devil's advocate, the last time Shnaider played a crowd that was pretty partisan, it did not go well for her in Rome.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'd like to see. I'm not sure if you saw Nigel on the Instagram there today talking about these Surbiton ladies, but I think this Surbiton crowd will be slightly different to what she experienced in Rome there. So
yeah,
I'm not sure she'll be under. They're going to be pro Boulter, but there's no going to be sort of jeering on second serves, and I think. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite as partisan as Rome was, so she might be okay on that front. But that's the angle I half saw in it anyway.
Yeah. Well, next match we're looking at that I wanted to look at, maybe as far as firepower goes, tough to beat this on a Wednesday coming up here in Stuttgart. But Giovanni, Mpetshi, Perricard taking on Felix, Auger-Aliassime. There you see the numbers. Look at that over under 26.5. That is could be a long day at the office. At least the odds makers are expecting it here at Bet Rivers. But Mpetshi, Perricard, a slight dog. Felix, who his track record on grass is not quite what it is on hard or clay, but he's playing Mpetshi, Perricard, who really burst onto the scene. Started with clay, but last year in grass really started to introduce himself with some big performances, even at Wimbledon. But there you see the numbers. Tim, it's an interesting matchup between two players that have big serves when they're rolling. Were you expecting a straightforward match, a long one? How would you look at this match and what angles to bet on Mpetshi, Perricard, and Felix?
I mean, a little bit like you say, you fancy it's going to be serve dominated on. Again, what we've seen there is it looks at a quick grass service in Stuttgart, warm conditions. Mpetshi Perricard's got a game under his belt already. Felix doesn't, so that should suit him. Felix coming from the French off a first round defeat as well, so he probably clay being Felix's favourite surface as well, he's probably disappointed with how his clay season's finished up, I would imagine. And you're just going to see a lot of aces, aren't you? I can't imagine what the ace line is on Mpetshi Perricard, but I imagine it's probably north of 20 for the match. I think the guy spoke on the show. He was probably a little bit fortunate to come through against Safin. Won the big right points at the right moment, but over the course of the match, Safin was probably the better player. So I think if Felix can just deactivate Mpetshi Perricard's serve, then you like to think off an even rally, Felix is going to have the better of it, isn't he? But that's easier said than done. We know what that serve does.
It's the third matchup that they've had. All three have been now in the round of 16. 1-1 is the head-to-head. It was Felix who handled Mpetshi Perricard in Hamburg on the clay, but in Basel last year, Mpetshi Perricard's title run, it was his winning match there. So the first time they've met on grass, interesting. And yeah, and I was saying too, like the over-under at 26.5, slight plus money. Maybe that's a play, and if you go total games, if you think this is a 3-set match, both players, have decent odds, not terrible to win over 13.5 games. The one I was looking at too is the tiebreak number. It's pretty rare to see this, right? Over 1.5 is plus 104. So they're just kind of assuming that we're going to get at least one. If you want to feel real aggressive, it's go for 2 at plus 104.
Yeah, I think even first set tiebreak is minus money. That's kind of enough said, isn't it? You kind of know what you're going to get. You're not going to see. I'll tell you what would be interesting to know if somebody would like to lay a line on how many 5-shot rallies or more there might be. You could probably count on one hand how many of those there'll be throughout the course of the match. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to, maybe I would zag here instead of where I would normally be. If you think the first set might not be a tiebreaker, you go under 12.5 games at plus 117. It's maybe it's too good to be true. It usually is, but that is quite the price for just not a tiebreak.
Exactly. I mean, more than likely than not, you're probably going to need 12 holes of serves, and you're getting minus money for 12 consecutive holes of serve, more than likely, because I can't see both of them breaking it in the same set. But so yeah, I think you'd be brave to be getting stuck in at minus money for a first set tiebreak.
I do think if you're going to make a bet here and you're going to maybe not go full unit, depending on what your units are, I think Mpetshi Perricard's a live underdog here with that number. Could be a coin flip match. Felix obviously has a better track record, but with his serve, yeah, he's in the fight. So I like that. I like a little sprinkle at the very least on Mpetshi Perricard. Betting weekly,
maybe sort of like we said earlier with that game on his belt, maybe first set 2 could be an angle for some people to look at.
Certainly can be. More on Betting Weekly, Tennis Live, Mitch Michaels, Tim Dennis, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Download the app. Follow us on our socials at Because We Win. A lot of tennis to bet on in this grass court season. Other matchups that we're liking. Anything else to jump out with you? I got a couple matches that I wanted to discuss, but Tim, anything else? And yeah, any other leg of the daily double? I should ask what the second leg of that is.
Yeah, no, my second leg, I didn't say the time when we went through the match, but it would be Katie Boulter under 11.5 total games in that Shnaider match. I think it was plus 114 when I looked earlier. I don't know if that's differed slightly. So yeah, the other one was plus 115 and Boulter under an 11.5 total player games. So like I said, if she wins a set, that you can still cash that bet depending on Shnaider if she can win the last two, say 3-2 perhaps. So it gives you a little bit of 2 bites of the cherry, but yeah, that's the way I looked at that. Katie Boulter under 11.5 total player games.
Yeah, maybe a little 7-6, 6-4 or something. 7-6, 7-6 tiebreak situation. I just think it's going to be very interesting because Shnaider is somebody with a lot of hype and a lot of much deserved hype to succeed on the grass. Because I know you've looked at it, Tim, but we were looking at those Wimbledon odds, and the women is just fascinating right now. Like, how do you even consider who the top players are going into Wimbledon, given who's done well here and what form these players are in?
Yeah, correct. I mean, I'm not sure if you got the odds there in front of you for Wimbledon, but Sabalenka is obviously clear favourite because we all know Iga it's not her favourite surface by a long chalk. I mean, I'm not sure you can completely write her off, but I'd be pretty much putting a line through her for Wimbledon. Raducanu seems to be finding a little bit of form again. Obviously winning that tournament before Paris and then I mean, she was really good for a set and a bit against Iga before Iga just sort of found a way to beat her on the clay. And she'll like these warm conditions. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I think she plays Heather Watson tomorrow, which should be fairly straightforward for her. I think, again, warm conditions on a fast grass court should be right up her street. So she'll be looking to get her season going, because I know she won that 250, but she should be winning bigger events than that.
Yeah, Rybakina, the number 2 favorite. It's kind of interesting. She's won before, but we haven't really seen a lot from her recently. But she is maybe turning the corner. The last 2 years, though, right? Krejcikova, Vondrousova, they weren't even on the top. These were long shots that outright won. So could be more of the same if Sabalenka or Goff or one of the big hitters doesn't show up. As far as matches going forward and players going forward, we mentioned the win as part of Nigel Seeley's daily double that he hit at that plus 192 clip. But Tim, what do you think about Gabriel Diallo on the grass? Not just winning that match, but his potential as a player to back, if you're into that. Do you think there's real potential here? 6'8", big weapons. Can he be a major player on the grass?
It looks that way, and there's no reason why he shouldn't. Like you say, big weapons. He's obviously got a good serve, and that forehand is a real weapon to go to war with, because he can. If you obviously get that big first serve, and chances are the ball's going to be landing mid-court, and he's more than capable of just putting that second shot in the rally straight back down as a clean winner. And if you serve well, which he tends to do, he's going to have every chance on this surface. And he looks a danger to all from what I've seen so far. Good victory today against, like we said, a guy who goes really well there. So he'll be full of confidence heading into his next match now.
Yeah, that next match, which is Khachanov, so that'll be
he
came
through in 3 today, and he fancy his chances there, I'd imagine.
I think so. I don't see a number on that yet. I think we're still waiting on that one. But
yeah, I think Khachanov didn't finish that long ago, so there'll probably be another hour or 2 before those are out. But I wouldn't have thought he'd be afraid of beating Khachanov tomorrow in the slightest. He'll be going in full of confidence.
In Stuttgart, we have some pretty big favorites. You got Zverev versus Mute. That's a huge number, depending on what to expect from Zverev. Mickelson plays Justin Engel at minus 670 after beating Monfils. Might be a fan of the show. I'm not really sure, but Mickelson into the next round. He's got a big number there. But I do like this Lerner Tien Brandon Nakashima match, where Nakashima is at minus 250. Obviously, the more experienced player. Lerner getting to this point, though, and I was wondering in that first match of his so far, I wasn't sure what to expect. We didn't know anything about him. He plays Nishioka. He gets that walkover in set 3 where Nishioka could not compete. But Lerner at plus 188, do you think that there's value on him, or do you think this is a player who doesn't have the experience that might be in over his head against a proven, more seasoned player, Nakashima?
I think if he takes his chances, I don't see why he couldn't give Nakashima a game, because we all know Nakashima is not the greatest of returners in the world. So this could be 2 tiebreaks again, and if you take your chances in those tiebreaks, then you're gonna come through, aren't you? At plus 188, you said.
Yeah, plus 188 for Lerner on the money line.
On what does look like it's going to come down to a couple of points here and there. I'd rather be certainly on the plus money than taking minus money in that Nakashima. So plus 188 could look a little bit big for a game that's probably going to come down to just a couple of points here or there, the odd break point perhaps, or in the tie breaks itself.
One thing we learned about Lerner, especially in Australia, was that he's going to battle and dig in. So if you're building your own parlay, your own daily double, maybe even a daily triple, I think to win a set at minus 152 is a solid option to start something here, because I do think he's shown that he even in the Nishioka match, right, 2 heavy tie breaks, he was still ready to go. So don't know that he would go all the way that I would back him to win this match, but year 1 on grass, it's interesting. So that's one I had highlighted. I
think we spoke before on these shows about like motivation. This is probably going to be a bigger match for him than it is Nakashima. So when you've got those guys who are more up for it than the opponent who's minus money, then that can be a play to look into.
I was looking at Stuttgart or Hertogenbosch rather. There's some interesting matchups. We talked about Bergs and Popyrin tomorrow. How about on the polar opposite side of style of play, you got Jarry and Opelka doing battle in their next matchup? You can't get much more different.
Who's going to serve more aces out of those two and Mpetshi Perricard? They probably serve 100 between him tomorrow, I imagine.
You surprised Opelka is a slight favorite, both minus money. Opelka's at minus 122, Jarry's at minus 104.
I think so. Yeah, I probably had him nearer, probably minus 103 the pair, to be honest, knowing how this game's going to go. Similar to what I just spoke about in that previous match, it's probably going to come down to 1 point here or there. You'd imagine this could be. I haven't seen the lines on it, but I'd imagine it's well over 26.5. Probably even.
Yeah, that's the number.
Yeah. So yeah, you're going to have to go 3 sets just to cash that, which tells you it's probably looking at tie breaks all the way again. And yeah, Jarry was the plus money, you said.
Well, he's minus 104, but he's a slight dog. So they're
he's the slight dog. Yeah, so yeah, you probably lean towards Jarry. We all know Opelka's not, obviously he's got those big weapons, but he's not the best mover if you can get him into a point. So of the two, they're looking at minus money and plus money. I'd rather, the dog. I'd probably rather be taking the dog there, just a little bit under that.
He was moving a little better than I thought. So he's kind of come a little bit better in that regard. But yeah, you can get plus 104 on over 12.5 games in the first set. So a little better than Felix and Mpetshi Perricard for the tiebreak first set odds there. But yeah, I'm expecting a long, physical, drawn-out match.
Probably having the day off today might have helped him, mightn't it? Because we all know he's going back-to-back days probably might not ride up his strength. He has a little bit injury-prone, and so probably having a day off today probably is certainly done him a favor.
I was wondering too, do you think, and we know he's done well on the clay, had the big win over Casper Ruud, but is Borges on upset watch? Nuno Borges against Otto Virtanen. Looked at that number, and it's kind of the whole theory of sometimes you just got to look a second time when you see more than 2-1 on grass in some of these matches. Minus 215 Nuno Borges, Otto Virtanen and Hertogenbosch is plus 165.
Yeah, Borges come through nicely yesterday against Basharetti. I think Virtanen, he had a slight medical timeout in that second set. I saw he was well in. I think he was up a break in that second set, and had that medical timeout, which looked a bit of a concern because I think he had a bit of strapping on the leg there. But he managed to come through that set. So just maybe a small question mark about what condition he's in tomorrow. But I like Borges, good server, good ground strokes. He should be looking to do well on this surface. He likes these fast conditions.
Well, before we wrap up here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live with the favorites in full command, with Keys up, with Kudermetova up, on the women's side, much of the same. Do you see any female players playing in the next day or two that you think could be on upset watch? Because I see some bigger lines. I know there's some players that should handle business, but we know, and that's a great comment by Louis B. He won the Birmingham Challenger on grass last week, did Otto Virtanen. So shout out for that knowledgeable stat there. But on the women's side, do you think there's a player or two that should be on upset watch, a heavy favorite even?
Well, maybe Kessler against Zheng tomorrow would be perhaps one to look out for. Like we spoke again for many times already on this show, Kessler's got a game under her belt. Zheng doesn't. I know Zheng's been there since Sunday, I think, so she's obviously practiced plenty. But so whether she's good enough to win the match, but she could probably get off to a fast start and catch Zheng cold there. Zheng, a little bit surprising because I think she's got one of the better serves in the women's game, but she hasn't made much of a career of herself yet on the grass. So whether that's a work in progress and she can get going, we'll have to see. But yeah, Kessler will be the one I'll be looking at there of the dogs there tomorrow against. I think she's number 1 seed there, Zheng. So
yeah. That's a good one. I was going to say, and if Nigel was on the show, we'd be doing a whole segment on Raducanu, but Sramkova doesn't have a tour level win on grass. She's got 9 at the pro level, but none at the WTA level. So I don't think this is the spot for her to fall victim to the upset bug. Could be wrong. I think that would be a bad loss, quite honestly, if Raducanu doesn't handle business, but I would expect her here. So I think that number at minus 420 makes the most sense. Yeah,
and she beat a glorified clay court player in Brusca in the last round, looking reasonably good, but perhaps Brusca made her look better than she was. But Raducanu, she did pretty well in the UK last year. I think she did quite well in Eastbourne last year, and she obviously got off to a good start, beating Brusca really comfortably. So she should be minus 420. She should be taking those odds tomorrow.
Is there any other matches that we missed, or anything else? Any other betting angles you like across the beautiful grass courts of Europe?
No, probably the game I'm most looking forward to is the one we covered there, Katie Boulter and Shnaider. That could be That could be probably some of the best tennis of the day. Obviously, Raducanu are a big favourite against Heather Watson. Maybe the Raducanu, you never know with her. But yeah, if I'd had to choose to watch one game tomorrow, it'd be Shnaider and Boulter. Fortunately, I'm going tomorrow, so
There you go.
I'll be there for that. So we'll try and cover a little bit of it when we're there too. But yeah, really looking forward. Hope the rain stays away. That's the main thing.
I certainly hope so. Queen's Club is a 500 event for the women now doing tennis there, which is great that we have a women's tournament. Though I do wonder next week how the grass is going to be. I'm a little nervous about what the grass is going to be for the men's event. But which players do you think? I mean, we don't have the market out with play still, and the future market out with play in action on Bet Rivers. It will be out, at some point. But who do you think could be a contender to back for the future to go all the way on the women's side?
In this tournament or Wimbledon?
Yeah, in Queen's Club. Yeah, looking at some of the names.
In Queen's Club, well, do you know what? I liked Anisimova at the start of the week. She obviously beat Goff at Wimbledon when she was sort of coming through. She likes these fast conditions. She obviously took a bit of time to get going against Jodie Burrage the other day, but looked really professional today. Really good against Sonny Cartel. A really impressive performance. Taking her out 6-1, 6-3, I think it was. So yeah, I was impressed with her, and she'll play Emma Navarro next. Actually, you obviously got the Navarro, who's probably going to move the better of the two, but Anisimova, who's the bigger hitter. So that should be a good matchup, sort of styles make fights kind of matchup. That's one I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, I'm looking to see how she goes, because I think come the American hard courts, she could really. I thought she might do big things at the end of the year, so I'll be looking forward to seeing her.
You read my mind on that one. I think given how the bracket is, especially how the draw is, I think there's opportunity in that section if Qinwen's not locked in as the 1 seed. On the other side, I would love to see the chalk matchup of Rybakina and Keys in the semi rematch of their matchup where, Keys kind of did great things against her in Australia. How does this matchup look on grass? How does it change? Is Rybakina out for, quote unquote revenge? A Rybakina title here, Tim, would kind of reinforce, okay, we got another contender emerging on the women's side. So same with Keys. I think if one of those two were to win this title more than maybe the other players, we'd look at them and their Wimbledon odds maybe a little differently.
Yeah, I think from that side of the draw, one of those two does look almost certain to make the final, don't they? Keys fully at home on grass as well, as is Rybakina, and obviously we'll see Rybakina tomorrow. I think she got there Sunday as well, so she's had plenty of time practicing. So she should be ready to go straight away. But she's got a nice match to warm into, as Keys does today. So hopefully they both win their matches, and that'll be a semi-final to watch, because, like you said, they had a thriller in Australia there, and probably Rybakina might look at that. I think she maybe carrying a bit of a niggle of an injury at the time, and Keys obviously went on to win the tournament, so she'll be looking to avenge that defeat.
All right. Well, I think we covered a lot. This was another great episode of Betting Weekly Tennis Live. I want to thank everyone out there for watching. And, one more reminder, your daily double, Tim, we're already on a win streak, so no pressure, but we're going under the Boulter game totals against Shnaider, and we are going to do Bergs to win the first set. And that payout is roughly what exactly?
It's a plus 114. I saw Boulter under 11.5 games, and I think we said 115. Did we come? Yeah, 115 on Bergs to win the first set. So it's probably playing just about. I haven't checked, but probably about plus 320, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's. I'll do a quick math on that one just to kind of see, so we know if anyone wants to, and feel free to tail us. That would be about plus 360 if those two numbers hit. So, so there you go. That's your daily double. We hit today. We're going to hit again. So we're just going to keep riding all the way to the All England Club at that rate. But this has been fun. So much tennis. This is the start of grass season. It's going to be over in a blink of an eye. We're going to be at Wimbledon very soon. So make sure you download the Bet Rivers app. Make your bets on all the tennis. Hertogenbosch, Stuttgart, Queen's Club for the women this week. And a lot of great stuff. You can get your Wimbledon futures in as well. So for Tim Dennis, my name is Mitch Michaels. This was Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Follow our socials at Because We Win. And we're back again next week, 3 days a week, 1 o'clock Eastern, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on the Bet Rivers Network. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the tennis. We'll talk to you soon.